always go straight into that thing, and then it goes into that thing.
I knew I was in good hands when I drove to Burbank.
And welcome to Burbank, Jonesy. Nice to have you.
Jonesy.
Yeah.
Nice to have you. Know, when I first saw your name, I was like, Jonasy.
In lights? Where did you see it?
Well, when we met at a Patreon event. What about maybe 2 months ago, something like that?
Yeah.
Down in L.A. And Mindy and I got invited for being patrons, and so did being on Patreon, and so did Jonesy. And we're like, well, we're gonna meet people. We're gonna mingle and meet people. And I met him. That was it. That's the only. He's the only person
you met.
The only person.
I'm so sorry.
I just didn't see anybody that I necessarily wanted to meet.
Yeah, really.
You know what I'm saying? And
that'll dictate the room a lot.
You met the only person that can't help you in your career. Are you happy about that?
Well, it was more about getting to know what they do, and I saw a podcaster, and that's why I was like, oh, and I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah, you write your name and what you do underneath it.
Exactly, and the little badge there.
Yeah, because it was a Patreon event, there was a whole, potpourri of
all kinds
producers.
All kinds.
I may be so illiterate.
I'm surprised at what you can make a living doing. I'm blown away by it because one of the person on the panel makes games.
Yeah.
Creates games and somehow makes a healthy living doing that using Patreon. I don't know how. I don't know how
games like
solitaire. No, like games, like video
Space
games.
Invaders.
My bad. Video games.
Yeah.
This is me. I don't know anything about video games, but they make video games and they design them, and I guess they help other people design them and help their patrons design them. I don't know. I'm like, how did you figure out how to make money doing that?
There's a chick I met at that event who does juggling videos.
Do you see?
And somehow makes money doing juggling videos.
Was her name Jenna?
No.
No.
He's one of the patrons. Michael's one of the patrons.
No, I'm not.
I love that. Good joke. Oh yeah.
Jenna the juggler.
When I met, I'm like, people watch you juggle. I was like, wow, people will watch anything, won't they? That's the way we live in.
And how many did she give you divulge any information? How many patrons she has?
No, she didn't tell me that. I just followed her on Instagram and moved on.
Gotcha.
I was trying to meet. I actually was trying to meet people, kind of. I met about not many, but probably 10 people.
Really?
Yeah. I tried to squeeze the limit at that event. Yeah. In addition to meeting people, I'm eating this eggplant.
Oh
I'm fucking eating the eggplant palm all
right.
day.
Yeah. And they had pretty decent beer. I don't know if are you a drinker?
I drink a little bit, yeah.
I had one they had an IPA. It was a Stone IPA. It was pretty decent. It was a cool thing that they did. I thought I didn't really like the video portion of it. I didn't really watch that part of it. But they had a panel of people up there, and they're all very successful. And it was pretty cool that they did that.
That is cool.
And we'll talk about you have a Patreon page as well, and it has to do with your podcast. There's a lot to talk to you about because you are kind of a busy guy.
Let's get the handles out of the way. What's your Instagram handle?
Oh, Funny Jones. Everything I do, I'm on is Funny Jones.
All right, Funny Jones.
Funny Bones.
Yeah.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that. Yeah.
All right. So you didn't grow up in LA though, right? You.
No, I'm an East Coaster.
So from was it Boston?
Yeah. Originally.
And how long did you live in Boston?
So first 20 odd years of my life.
Okay. Yeah. And then moved on to New York.
Went to New York.
Right.
10 years.
10 years in New York.
Yeah.
How long you been here?
4.
Okay, so what's this is always, they always say it's different, and they say the same thing with rap, right? East Coast, West Coast rap. They say the same thing sort of with comedy, that it's a little different. Is it true? Is it different in LA
what
than
part
it
of
is?
Comedy? Do you mean stand-up?
Stand-up comedy, yes.
I would say in stand-up's the same for the most part wherever you go, but I think the people involved in it in New York are different than the people in LA. Their approach to it is different. They take it way more seriously. They do more of it. They really look at it as a true craft and give a shit about it. Right. They're not distracted by other Hollywood type of things. A lot of them just want to do stand-up. Right. That's what they're there for. They're not trying to get a sitcom and this kind of stuff. They just care about it and they just do that. And
here you think that's what's happening. People trying to get a sitcom, they're trying to get in a movie, they're trying to get...
everybody's trying to do that, man.
I'm not going to generalize too much, but I think a lot of stand-ups here are just... it's a way for them to kind of be seen. It's a thing for them to do to keep busy, but I think they have other things in mind. And, because not that there's anything wrong with that at all, but I think the stand-up, you can tell that this level of stand-up is lower here in general. You can tell that they don't spend as much time at the craft here. Comics that just don't really develop their act any further than a certain point, and then just keep doing that over and over and over. Every time you see them, it's the same act. It's the same act.
Yeah.
because they're not spending any time growing it. Maybe they don't have they don't look at it the way that some of us look at it. I don't want to fault them at all.
Of course. And if they're busy and they're doing comedy and they're doing what they want, there's no reason to fault anybody.
Hey, maybe they got a writing gig during the day, and
Absolutely,
they're getting paid.
Exactly.
In which case, hats off to you, man.
Absolutely. And writing your own jokes, I mean, that goes hand in hand with writing. For sitcoms, a lot of stand-up comics become writers for sitcoms and stuff like that. Is it something you'd ever be interested in, writing on a sitcom or anything like that?
Not network, because it's not edgy enough for my tastes.
Yeah, gotcha.
But I would like the paycheck for sure. That would be a sweet check.
Steady paycheck.
Oh, yeah, the network pay, that's something.
Yeah.
I would do it for a year and then buy a house and then fuck off and do my own thing. I would love to do something like that. Yeah, I like to write. I write and shoot my own shit all the time. I wrote something that I'm trying to raise money to shoot that's substantial, that I think has legs. It would be a series, and I love it. I love to write. Yeah.
How much of a show do you have that you've accumulated so far for stand-up? How do you have, an hour, 2 hours of material, or?
Oh yeah, I probably could do an hour and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're writing all the time?
Yeah, I'm writing all the time, and in New York, I was able to churn out more material because you could get more stage time.
Now, why is that?
I don't know if your listeners are into this want to hear that kind of the underbelly of stand-up, but
that's why you're here. We wouldn't have invited you otherwise.
Yeah, the stage time in New York is aplenty because there's so many clubs and there's so
many shows. You can walk
shows
from club to club.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
and you also don't have the travel
right
situation like you have here. Like, it's hard to do more than 2 shows in L.A. You know, you got to get in your car and you drive. I've had nights where I thought I could squeeze in 3 shows and I just couldn't get to the third show physically. I just couldn't be there before the show ended because it was in Santa Monica and I'm in Boyle Heights or whatever, and it just wasn't working out, you know. But in New York, everything's kind of on top of each. All the shows are kind of clustered, and so you can bounce and do. I mean, it's not uncommon for a comic to do 5 shows on a Friday, 6 shows on a Saturday. You know, that's very common.
Did you see that special on Netflix? It's Ray Romano, where he started a set. He started a show in one place and walked to the next place and finished the taping.
Yeah, you can walk.
It was so cool.
Yeah, you could totally. That's great. Yeah, and you could totally do that in New York. So to bring it back, the reason why the material can really get churned out in New York, and it's why comics will move to New York specifically to develop their stand-up, whether it's for a lifetime or I know comics who have just gone there and be like, I'm just doing a year in New York to develop my act, and then I'll be back. I've seen this happen. You can develop material pretty quickly there. Whereas in LA, because of the lack of stage time, although I'm writing quite a bit, almost the same as I was in New York, there's a speed bump to the development of the material on the stage because the stage time is less, and in the stage time out here is not as good either. I find the shows to be a little sparse crowd-wise out here, whereas in New York, I don't know if it's because the dense population is all in one spot.
Right.
You find yourself in front of crowds more in New York than you do out here, which is more of a spread out thing.
It's true. There's a lot of options out here, and they're spread out.
Spread out, and so it's hard to get in front of a good crowd on a consistent basis for me. And so the development of the material has slowed down a bit.
Okay, and so let's explain to people what bringer level is, right? That's when you're I'll explain it, and you can help me explain it. It's when you're really working hard. They want you to bring a certain amount. So you're at this stage where
they want you to bring your friends, your family,
exactly,
your exes, the crossing guard, your guidance counselor, whatever. And they don't care who you bring either. They don't care who. But bring people. They don't speak English. Who gives a shit? Bring them.
People.
The drunkest uncle you have, they don't care. Bring it.
That's it. And how long were you at? Are you past that level now, or are you still at that level now? Do you still run into that a little bit as a comic?
I haven't done a bringer situation in quite a long time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How long were you in that place though? Because it's a tough. I have a friend who's a comic, and he's in that place, and it's just tough. It's a tough place to be.
That's the beginning stages of it. So every comic has to get through that.
Yeah. Same with musicians too.
Yeah, because there's gatekeepers at various levels. Some gatekeepers for stage time, this is the payment. You want to be on their stage, you have to bring them something. Are you bringing them a name?
Right.
Well, if you're not, they want you to bring bodies another way. Do you have a big following? Can you bring bodies that way? Or, they want to, especially if you're not very funny and you're new. Like, all right, they're like, all right, I'm going to let this unfunny piece of shit on my stage, but like, what am I going to get out of it? Well, we sold 10 tickets. They were unfunny for 7 minutes. It was worth it because that person brought bodies
Right.
into the joint.
That's it.
This happens in music as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some bringer requirements. You'll find if you want to play some gigs on Sunset and they don't know who the hell you are, they want to know.
Have you played on Sunset?
I haven't played music out here, no. But
No?
back in New York, I did. And, if you want to play some of those rock clubs down on Bleecker Street down there where all those clubs are and stuff, you got to bring. And they have awful pay structures, too. They'll be like, you get nothing for the first 20. For the next 10, we'll give you half. For the next 10 after that, we'll give you 3/4. You're like, you can bring 25 of your friends and make nothing, to see you play music.
How many times, and Michael can relate, how many times have you played for nothing?
Fuck, most of the time.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And I mean, we'll do something like back in May we played the Whiskey and brought a bunch of people, and you pay to play.
You pay to play at the Whiskey.
You
Right?
pay to play. Was the bringing the people the pay, or did you have to pay in addition to
You
that?
pay it first.
We
pay up front.
We buy tickets,
and then you sell them.
And then you sell
them. Oh, I've heard of this as
Yes.
well. You buy the tickets ahead of time, and then you got to
you buy them from the Whiskey, and
Yeah.
then you sell your tickets to make your money back.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a fucking scam.
And
And the
man.
Whiskey doesn't care if you buy all your tickets and you show up and
They
you
don't
play
give
your
a
set
fuck.
for no one.
That's right.
They don't give a shit.
In fact, the guy that I got our tickets from said, here's the 50 we want you to sell. Here's another 50 that you can give away. What I recommend is do a 2-for-1. If they buy one, give them 2.
Yeah, that's smart.
It totally worked. We had a full
Did
house.
it work?
Yeah, it was pretty. It was
You had a
pretty
full house.
pretty
Amazing.
full. And what's interesting too about that, and I don't know anything about the stand-up world, but now more than ever, the crowd comes to see the show and then they fucking leave. They don't stay for the night.
They usually see the one band.
They come to
that
see
they
Jonesy and then they're fucking gone and they've been their
Right.
jammies
well,
in
that's
25
certainly
minutes.
that's certainly your LA crowd. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
what you
LA.
get.
And that's
Yeah.
what I wanted to ask about. I've never spent any substantial time in New York. Is the mindset there with the entertainment industry different than here, from your experience?
I would say, okay, in general, your entertainment in Manhattan, let's just break it down to Manhattan, is very much tourist based. So it's a lot of, you find yourself, if you're at Stand Up New York on a Friday night, or you're at the comic strip on a Friday night, there will be, or even Caroline's on Broadway, especially Caroline's, you're going to find yourself in front of a lot of people from the Midwest, people that are in town. The closer the club is to Times Square, the more Midwestern and touristy it's going to be. In Manhattan, I would say, in general, it's pretty touristy, much more so than here. Of course, a couple clubs here are extremely touristy, the Comedy Store is...
Right.
Laugh Factory.
Yeah, they bring in a lot of tourists because that's when someone comes to LA, they're like, I want to see somebody who's on TV.
Yeah.
That's what they want to see. And one of the easiest ways to see someone who's on TV
Saturday night
is go to the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
You're going to see people on TV. They may not be your favorite people, whatever, but those are people on TV.
Yeah.
Because you ain't going to bump into them and fucking, you think when you come to LA, we just walk around the Hollywood Walk of Fame, we're going to see somebody.
Nope.
You ain't going to see nobody,
Yeah.
all right? So you want to see somebody because you have to have a story, right? You got to bring a story back to fucking Saskatchewan that you saw Chris D'Elia or Joe Rogan, right? You need a story. Well, you can't fabricate that story, so you go to the Comedy Store and you can see that. So there are a couple places here that cater to the tourists, but in New York in general, it's a very touristy. I find, in my opinion, to be pretty touristy. At least at the stand-up clubs. I was always doing shows at Broadway. It's just like I'm like, these people are so tourist. I just don't like. For me, in my act, I don't like it. And that's why it kind of stands out.
Now, why don't you like it?
I don't like it because my material is a little smarter, I think.
Yeah.
And a little edgier, and they're not always so on board with it.
Yeah.
They don't always get what I'm talking about, the point that I'm trying to make. It's like, I'd have to really slow it down and rewrite the joke and really spell it out for them like a child in some cases. I hate to insult the, Arkansas citizens, but Jesus Christ, man, fucking, pop some ginkgo biloba, do something with your fucking brains, like get it together.
Yeah.
So I find it's a struggle for me. So I have certain bits that I can do to get a laugh no matter who the fuck is there, like even children, but I don't like doing that stuff every night, you know what I mean? I want to move on and develop as an artist. I want to do what I want to see. The comics that I like, I want to do stuff like they do, and so for me, those kinds of crowds are a mess. Like to the
Right.
fucking, I was just at a casino. It's like that. Casino crowds, man. It's just like these people are just go,
Yeah, and I'll say I have a tremendous amount of respect for stand-up comedians. I've tried it, I've done it. I find the joke writing process to be really challenging, and I think it's probably one of the most bravest art forms. And the reason is because you're putting yourself out on display. You're putting your jokes out, which probably the first time you're telling them are shit.
Yeah.
You're putting those out on display, and the only way for you to know whether they're good or not is to actually take them into a crowd and put them up on
That's
stage.
true.
There's no other way to know. There's no other way to know.
Yeah.
I mean, with music, you have other people in the room with you that you're writing the songs with. You can tell. You can say, yeah, you know what? And you got how
you
many?
certainly know like a structure when you've seen it, and you know that.
Exactly.
Okay, let's add a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this seems done. 2 chorus times 2, we out.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Not only that, so the structure, you don't, sometimes with a joke, you don't know if the structure is even correct.
Right.
Until you try it out. And then a song also, you can fucking email the MP3 to 100 of your musician friends or whoever.
And
You
get
can put-
feedback.
And get immediate feedback. That's something, let me take your song with me into nature and listen to it. That's how if you sent me a song, by the way, that's how I would do it. I would take it into nature and give you, that's where I listen to my friends' music and give them feedback.
Nice.
So you could take it with yourself and listen to it whenever you want. Stand up, you have to be at the live show.
It's
I can't
crazy.
record it. Hey, I want to send everybody this joke, and then talking to my phone. So guys, and then email that to them. They're gonna be like, "This is the dumbest thing ever."
The fuck
Like,
are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? Are you out? Did you lose your mind?
Yeah.
How many fucking weed gummies did you eat? 40 milligrams worth, you maniac.
And it's so dependent upon the crowd and the audience.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for that. So what do you think is the most challenging part about writing jokes? And how are you writing them on paper? Are you practicing them at home before you go? Do you have your set practiced in your head? Are you a more work off the crowd kind of a comic?
There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm certainly not someone who will just go on stage without anything prepared. I would never do that.
I don't think people realize how much comedians really prepare. I don't think they really understand how much you prepare and practice
In
it.
fact, there are some comics that are so good at seeming unprepared.
Oh.
That you would be so surprised to find out how prepared they were.
So true. And that's when they're really, I
Yeah.
think that's when they're
I approached
they're
a
in
buddy
the-
of mine a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I saw him somewhere. We were on the same show together, and his set seemed so off the cuff and improv. I pulled him over after. I was like, how much was written? He's like, all of it. I was like, hats off to you, man. That was fucking incredible. I was totally pulled into
That's cool.
that this
to
was
the gimmick.
that this was happening in
Yeah.
real time right
Right,
now.
right.
He had talked to a couple of audience members, but it was all set up. He had all kind of worked it out already. And-
To me, that is so impressive.
so
Because you feel like you're living in the moment with the comic as an audience member.
yeah.
And they're creating that fucking moment. It's
Yeah.
brilliant. It's brilliant.
So I think younger comics think that, they see comics like Louis, and
Yep.
they think that you can just go wing it because it looks like it's winging. It looks like he's just going off the cuff. It looks like he's just talking, and he'll even sputter around a little bit. Like watch Doug Stanhope, same shit, and he's sputtering around trying to find but all of this stuff has been tried before. By the time you see it on a Netflix special, it's been worked on. It's been done that
Yeah.
so many times. So it looks like it's live in the moment, but these people are working at it. Young comics think that they can just get up there and do that. Young comics need to know, that this is something you have to work at. You have to work at it. You should always be prepared when you're going up.
I know several young people
That
who
say,
think-
I could do that.
who think that they could just pick up
Well,
a guitar or drumsticks
yeah.
and just be like,
Yeah.
how come I can't do it like you can?
yeah.
Uh,
Dude, I've got fucking 40 years of sitting
Sure.
there fucking sucking.
yeah.
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
At least they picked up the drumsticks though, instead of just buying a little keyboard at
Yeah.
the computer.
Yeah,
This is true. You know what?
that's true.
Fuck the 40 years of the drums. Boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick. Who wants to hear my loop?
Yeah.
I'm looping today.
We've actually
True.
talked about that on a previous podcast.
So true.
So much to unpack though.
Yeah.
Is this stuff that your listeners are into? I mean,
Well, don't worry about that.
Like what my writing process is
I would like to know it. I'm
Uh,
curious because when I did it, I wrote the jokes. I wrote them
Yeah.
out. The one really good show that I had, the last one that I did, which was, to me, I felt successful. I was practicing it in the garage before, like hours before, right before, I went over the set and went over the set and went over the set. And I really did try to rehearse it as best I can. Is that something that you do?
So I don't like to rehearse like that. Like, what I'll do is, well, let's say I'm developing a joke. I have an idea for something. I'll have, and it's usually something that came out of a conversation. A lot of my jokes come out of conversations that I've had with somebody. Because something will happen to me in the moment, and it'll pull out a response, or it'll pull out my point of view, and I didn't realize I had that point of, or I didn't realize that point of view was funny, or that point of view was unique. You know, like, I don't know, we're talking about fucking peacocks. Maybe I have some opinion about the way they, like, these fucking, you ever see them walk? Fucking ridiculous. It's like, you know what I mean? And then I might say something that's like, this is a bad example, right? But like, I may say something to a couple of friends about peacocks, or insert fucking rando, you know, topic.
Yeah.
That got a laugh. That's the first indicator. I'm like, it got a laugh. But then, you know, you can't always count on that, because these are your friends. They laugh at everything, right?
Right.
Yep. So my criteria, it made them laugh. All right. How unique is this point of view? Are other people talking about the peacock shit? I don't know. Probably not. So pretty unique. Okay, then I might roll with it then. At that point, I might think, all right, this might be something to explore. And then from there, kind of take the idea down. And a lot of times I'll just speak it into my phone. You know, speak like, what do I think about this topic? Like, this is what's going on. Yeah, they suck. What's the point of the joke? Is it peacocks are annoying? Okay, all right. Not a lot of people have that opinion that peacocks are annoying. And if they do, they usually shut the fuck up about it, because it's a weird thing to say to somebody in public. Like, why would you express that? Just keep it to yourself. So all of this could be funny, right? So I think peacocks are annoying. Boom. That's the thesis. All my jokes have a thesis.
See?
And then and a lot of them are grievances for me. A lot of jokes are grievances for me. So this is my grievance. Peacocks are stupid, and here's why. And then I treat it like a geometry, like a proof. Like, now I'm gonna prove to the crowd that peacocks are really dumb, and that you shouldn't come close to one. And this is how I'm gonna do it. But I'll think it out. I'll write down shit on paper, like some notes. These are ideas. I might have like 3 or 4 little things. But then I'll just take it from there and just try, and I won't remember it verbatim, because I don't know if this shit's going to work yet.
That's
So why sit down and remember all my lines for a scene that ain't going to be shot ever? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to remember this yet. I don't even want to, you know how memory works, right? And you could imprint something a certain way, and then it may be hard for me to undo it later if the joke changes. So I don't want to, in the beginning of a joke, I don't want to remember anything verbatim. I just want to be like, okay, I want to say that peacocks are this. I want to say that I ran into one once and this happened. And then I want to talk about how my fucking girlfriend wants to buy one for the house. And I'm like, no, bitch. And then, so maybe those are the 3 things I want to say.
Yeah.
So I'll just remember those are the 3 things I want to say. And I'll get up there and I'll just improv that with the crowd. And I record it. I'll just talk about those things. And maybe points I want to hit. I'm like, I want to end on this because it's a funny word. Bam. I want to end on this point, but this is what I'm going to do. And I'll riff through it. And then if shit's going
good.
sometimes what happens is when the joke is going well and those 3 things have worked that I just said, maybe I'll just improv a 4th, improv a 5th. I'll try a 6th. I'll throw this and that until the laughter just starts to peter out. And then I know, okay, you guys are done with this. You know, I've kind of pulled what I thought was funny out of it. But then that's just the first stage. Then you listen to it. What worked? Keep that. What didn't work? Throw that away. Or maybe if I like it a lot, change it. Try it again. And then now you have something. Okay, I'm going to say those 2 things out of the 3 worked. Keep those. Let's do it again. I'm going to add a new one. I'm going to do these 2 things that worked. I'm going to add a new one. I'm going to say that peacocks give amazing head. Fucking weird, right? Who would know that? Who would ever expect that? No one's going to see that coming. But they may not believe me that I got head from a peacock. It looks like it hurts, actually, to get head from a peacock. Like, that beak looks very sharp and shit. But they're beautiful. So, like, why wouldn't you want to get head from something so beautiful in nature? So, like, maybe that's the point I'm making. Bam. So now I add that one. And let's see if that works. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, throw it away. We tried again, but I still kept the first 2.
Still got the 2.
And this is how it goes over. And this is why you need
so
a lot of
awesome.
stage time to develop just one joke. You need it because you got to do that.
That is exactly what I wanted from you right there.
Yeah.
Because to me, I think a comic's brain is an interesting mechanism. The way that you just illustrated that whole thing, to me, is incredibly impressive. Because I've often thought, okay, because as in the attempt to do stand-up comedy, I'm like, okay, the best thing to do is, as you're in conversation, that's funny. You just said it. That's funny. Now, how do I make that a fucking joke, though? Because it happened in conversation. Maybe you just said one little witty line, and everybody riffed.
That's right.
But how do you turn that moment that that you can't retell that story verbatim. It's
Correct.
going to be boring as shit. How do you
Plus
turn that into a joke?
Also, there's always a context in which that emerged.
Exactly.
But on the stage, you have to
There
create the context.
Exactly.
Like when I walk on stage, we're not all already talking about our favorite farm animals. I gotta like. I'm gonna tell you what I think of peacocks comes out of the fucking blue. Like I gotta set that up.
So
the
great.
context. Whereas when I got the laugh with my friends, there was a context there.
Exactly.
We were talking about
shit.
talking about parrots or whatever they went to the San Diego Zoo. Whatever the context was, it came out like that. So you have to also create the context, of course. Yeah.
So good, man.
But that's just my process.
So you don't do any like substantial rehearsal. You've got your bullet points.
Yes, the like an outline.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't need to. My rehearsal is to remember that outline for the most part.
Yeah, that's great.
And then to remember the other ones I'm going to try after that or before that. Like just remembering an outline and a structure before I go. Like a set list.
Yeah.
Like I just got to remember a set list. And then you may have a set list for yourself and there's 2 new songs in there. And you may just put the fucking key that it's in or whatever. Or like little notes for you as a guitarist to like, and the drummers have cheat notes as well. They may have that. They may have a set list, but then the 2 new songs, they may put their little cheat thing on there. So I'll remember that for myself when I go on.
And that's, to me, shows comfortability on stage because
Oh, dude, you got it.
If it's bombing and you're not comfortable, you'll freeze
Yes.
and you'll start panicking and you'll start forgetting, and then all the plan goes out the window.
You nailed it. That's really something. So that's why the bombing, you have to get the bombing right away if you want to be successful at this. You have to get on stage and just just fall apart again and again so that you can handle the falling apart, because I'm going to do new jokes and parts of those jokes, or if not, the whole fucking thing ain't going to work, and I can't lose my shit. I have to remember. I'll even push through it because maybe the ending's okay. I don't fucking know, but I gotta finish the peacock bit. They didn't like the intro. They didn't like my first 2 opinions on it, but maybe they like the peacock blowjob part. So let me just get to that. Don't lose your shit. Get to the end, and then also remember the jokes after that as well, because you're gonna be in a different state than you were when you began. You're a little thrown, and that can affect your memory.
Does that still happen to you?
So very rarely does it happen to me now, thankfully. But I've been doing it for a long, long time. It took me a long time to get here, a long time of bombing, and
That's a complex brain.
It really is.
Because
I'm telling you,
you have an inner monologue.
Sure.
Inner monologue going, don't fuck this up, dude. Push. You can do it. And then you got to fucking still repeat your joke.
Yes.
And make it work.
Yeah.
And deliver it a way that it's going to fucking go, hey, that was good. I recovered. From that one.
There's like another mind going on at the same time.
Yeah, that's fucking incredible.
You're performing, right? But then you're also watching yourself and trying to take in data.
Yeah.
You're trying to take in the data response of like what you're doing. Is it working? What do I need to change? Those people in the corner, they're not fucking loving me. All right, maybe I got to say something to them. Do they speak English? I'm wondering. You know what I mean?
That's why I think comedians are sometimes. Do they speak English?
And I still got to deliver my lines and not fucking lose it. And I've even done things where I'm like, that didn't go well at all. This is my inner monologue. That didn't go well at all. Do they think? I probably look nervous right now. Do they think? And then I'm going to raise my hand up and see if it's shaking. In the middle of my joke, I just kind of put my hand up for myself to kind of look.
Gauge your level of nervousness.
I reached to get my drink, but I gave myself a little. Let me see. Oh, I'm shaking a little. Okay, Jesus, ain't good. Okay, maybe just put the hand in the pocket then after I do this. Okay, boom. This is all my monologue. Put the hand in the pockets because I'm shaking a little bit. Let's get him on the next joke and just turn the ship around. You know what I mean? I've had moments like that, which is a weird thing to put yourself through.
Yeah.
I'd imagine it's like, I don't fucking know. I mean, MMA fighters and shit, people that push themselves to the edge of like an adrenaline situation, a performance situation, probably have this similar experiences.
It has to be similar, but I don't think people have enough respect for what a stand-up comic does on stage. It's and all the things I've done on stage. It's one of the scariest things, and all the things I've done in life. Let me just say, it's one of the scariest things I've ever done. It's in terms of nerves, in terms of feeling thinking about it the day before and getting nerves. Thinking about it the day before and thinking I'm going to have to take a shit right now because I'm so nervous about it. And then leading all the way up to the moment where I actually do it. And
take that shit on stage as well.
On stage.
You know how that is.
Bake it.
Especially if it's your first
Love
performance.
Yeah. And then your inner monologue is, is it running down my leg right now? Can they see it? Let me lift my leg a little bit. Oh, it's running out. It's on my sock. Oh fuck, they can see it. They can see it. Let me just shimmy it up. What if I cross my legs while standing? That's weird.
Yeah.
Got to cover up the shit though.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's a super scary thing, but I find it's really good for you as a human being to go through it, because if you can experience that, you can kind of experience most things. Like, I don't really get scared of much anymore. Like, since I've been doing stand-up, I've gotten in more fistfights because I'm just not. This ain't. Look, I'm selling stand-up because you'll be in more fights and you won't be afraid to tell a bouncer that his tries are small.
Mommy, he said.
But you're probably not afraid of auditions.
So,
things
but
like
auditions as well. Not afraid of auditions.
Yeah. And
oh,
that's
easy peasy auditions.
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
If you can, and I think you can even coach yourself. You're about to go to an audition. Maybe you think, I'm a little nervous about this. Wait a minute, motherfucker. I've been on stage.
Yeah.
I can do this.
So for me, okay, so if I could like narrow it down, like here's what it is. I'm not afraid of people anymore. People,
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of any person, any people do not fucking scare me. I've been humiliated in front of hundreds of people. I bombed so bad. I was booed off stage there was so many people there. Fucking, your microphone's being pulled because someone on the thing on the side's trying to signal you to get the fuck off. You ever tell you're telling a joke and something like, what the fuck? Someone over there is like, good.
Fucking exit stage
He's
left.
like, I got to wrap this up, guys. As if they couldn't tell. My mic went, like fucking, it's like I'm being pulled off, and then escorted. Here's your check. You have to leave the premises right now. There's someone right there taking you. I was escorted off an island, off a fucking island. I was escorted off the island. They did not want me on the island. Like, humiliated and rejected, like fucking, and then sent to Elba, like Napoleon, like fucking rejected from the community. Like, that kind of feeling from large groups of people. Now, what are you going to do? 2 of you? Like, are you kidding me? I'm not going to feel comfortable talking to being with 2 people.
After something like that, though, why'd you get back up on that stage? Were all the other good shows enough for that one? Or what was it? I mean, and how many years was it where you had few and far between that were actually good? And what kept you pushing through those bad moments to become the comic that you are now?
There's a lot there.
Yeah, I answer multi-layered. I ask multi-layered questions.
Your questions are phenomenal. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. So.
What pushes you through the hard shit?
Okay, so what pushes me through the hard shit now, or what pushed me through
then?
Because that's hard.
If you don't have enough, I've said this a lot. If you don't have enough love for something, then you're not going to be willing to embrace the sucky part of it.
Yeah,
you're not going to be willing to embrace it. So what was the love? What was the nectar in it that kept you doing it, even though you were bombing and you got pushed off an island? And
I guess I'm somebody who loves to make points and loves to tell stories and loves to share themselves and their life and my point of view. Like when I first came in here, you're like from Lancaster, and I told you, I go, let me tell you something about Lancaster. Yeah. Do you know why every boyfriend has to go to Lancaster? You're like, no, I have no idea. Because every fucking chick in LA has to take their boyfriend to the poppies.
See the poppies.
To the poppy field. Let's go. I gotta get a selfie in front of the poppies. So that's I'm always pushing my point of view like that on people. I do that with strangers in public. I do it at parties. Sometimes it goes horribly wrong, especially if I don't know my crowd. I've been too edgy. I swore too much. I might have been dirty, and I don't know who I'm talking to. But I feel so compelled to speak like that, to express my point of view to people. It's just something that's in me. I don't know why. I think it's the Irish part of me or something. Big time storyteller, and I'm always. I always want to speak to. I love speaking in front of crowds. I love it. I love karaoke. Give me a microphone. I love being on a microphone. All these things kept me going through that. And in addition to that, I like to also make people think. There's something about me. I'm a little bit of an anarchist, and I like making people think about things they've never thought before, whether it's about religion or sexuality. I love making people kind of think and question their own reality tunnel and point of view. I kind of dig that as well. I get off on that. So the stand-up gives you a platform to do all of that. Yeah.
I think stand-up does it in a way that's better than every other way of doing it.
I agree.
Because it comes in through a back door of comedy. Yeah. And it moves people. In fact, we're going through a weird time when you can't say anything, it feels like, anymore. If you're someone that speaks, and I'm a podcaster, and I'm constantly putting my voice on air and voicing my opinions. Same as you do stand-up, plus you also have your own podcast, which we'll get to in a little bit. But comedy is trying to get the voice back. And a couple of the shows that have come out on Netflix with Chappelle and Bill Burr, the comedy's trying to take some of it back a little bit. They're trying to say, hey, no, we should be able to say what we want. And I love that because it's hidden, the point is hidden in a joke, that the point's taken, but we're also able to laugh at our humanness. That's why I think comedy is one of the premier art forms, in my opinion.
And do you experience the sort of, on your own podcasts, the pressure to
Absolutely
to sort of
you're
walk along a guideline when it comes to topics?
Absolutely.
Have you ever found yourself not expressing your true opinion because of such things?
I have.
Yeah.
Really?
I have. Oh yeah. There's podcasts I listen to that are hosted by people of another ethnicity, and they virtually say whatever they want. Virtually. And some of it's shot at my ethnicity. And me, I have to stay in my lane as a white male. You just have to you know your place as a white male, and I'm not one of those that's we're not gonna go back into history and go through the reasons why people are allowed to say what they're allowed to say and why white males are now where we are. I don't care about all that. I'm just living in this moment right now, and in this moment it kind of sucks. You're not able to just make jokes about being human, and none of it comes from a malicious place for me. I'm not being malicious. My intentions are good. I just want to laugh and make connection with other people.
Yeah. There's a bit of a situation though where you have language police that only they take things out of context, and
what do you do about that?
They only look at the spoken word rather than the
intention
or intention behind it.
Right.
And when you take things out of context, it's very easy to do that.
Super easy.
Yeah, and then when you spread it with social media in tiny bites like we tend to do, people are not getting the context
They
either.
are not.
They're only getting the words. They don't know what happened behind it. And a lot of them don't give a fuck. They'll make a judgment just based on that. Now next thing you know, you get an avalanche of people who are just
will shut you down.
Raging
We'll
against
shut you down.
Yeah.
We'll shut you down, whatever it is that you're doing. We're fortunate enough. We're not killing it with the podcast. We don't have like millions and millions of people. We can take a little risk right now, but there could be a time when we make it like big with the podcast, let's say, and then they go back and listen to our older episodes and then do it again to you.
We've seen that happen
scary as well.
from some
It's true.
Some celebrity status folks said back in 2009, made some sort of
10
comment
years.
10 years ago, and it gets brought up
Well, look
when
at
they're
Kevin Hart.
when they're
Kevin
in the
Hart.
yeah.
Is it?
Look at
Exactly.
Kevin Hart. And I'll even say this: we had a guest on this podcast, and we haven't aired it yet because it has to go through a publicist.
Oh, Lauren.
We
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
aired
So
it
the
yet.
publicist has to take a listen to make sure no poopy words were said
No.
or anything.
Yeah,
Everything
there's things that are like
Related.
She made some comments that put words in the mouth of one of her actors, and not allowed to do that.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So,
Like I would go, yeah, Jonesy sat right there, and he goes, "Da, da, 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 da."
yeah. So when you get
no, you can't do that. You can't do that.
when you get candidness from a
okay.
yeah, that's true. You can't, and it's weird. It's a weird industry that we're in a little bit. So you got to be cautious with that stuff. You don't want people to put words in other people's mouths or say things that might hurt, a movie that they're releasing or something like that. We want them to be successful, so we'll play within those rules, and I don't mind playing within those guidelines because much like you, I'm sure, it's like, okay, so this is my playing field. Let me see how much I can.
I'm gonna
push
fucking
that
change
to the
it.
edge.
I'm gonna change it. Yeah.
And change it, but also how can I play in this play? Because you still can play there. You can't say, oh, they're shutting me down. You can still play there. You can still play there and get a point across without having it be an overwhelmingly offensively thing to say.
I enjoy pushing buttons in my stand-up act.
Yeah, do you
I do.
now? So the question to you: how's it been for you as a stand-up comedian dealing with the new territory that we live in? Or do you just not care?
So the things that I'm not supposed to really talk about, I'm sort of okay with not talking about those things. Like, I don't really.
Yeah.
I'm not really a race guy. I have no.
Right.
I really have no interest
not
in
important.
talking about
Yeah.
race. To me, it's so been done.
Right. Agreed.
It's like I don't talk politics either. Everybody else is doing it right now. It's been ever since Trump has been in office. This is all a lot of comics are talking about. I have no desire to talk about that, but I do like to fuck with our cultural mores.
I heard one of your jokes on Instagram.
I do a joke about exploring the joys of trying meth.
Right.
I do a bit about why there's nothing wrong with dating a woman with a penis. I don't see
That's
a
the joke
problem
I'm
with it.
talking about.
Yeah. So, and I'm actually I do a bit about why Amber Alerts are stupid, and these are things that are kind of like edgy but it's a struggle for me to get all crowds to listen. I mean, to accept this and laugh at it. That's been a struggle for me. It works for certain niche crowds.
Sure.
Smarter people can get a lot of what I'm getting across, and we'll get on board with some of these things. But I haven't been able to make it vastly acceptable. But I like that, because in my growth as an artist, this is all part of it. This is a big challenge for me. I mean, you begin your stand-up career with, I just want to get up there, do 5 minutes, and not piss my pants and get off and survive.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
what you do. You don't even think about, you think you're going to get last, but that's not happening. You just get up and get off and then check yourself. Okay, that was awful, but wow, I lived. I fucking lived. I lived.
Yeah.
So then you go, okay, all right, that happened. Okay, I could do it again. Okay, I lived again. Oh my God, I lived again. They didn't carry me up and boil me and eat my entrails. And then you go, oh, let me get up there and get some laughs. Oh, I got one, I got two, and then you learn, get up there, get laughs, get off. Get up there, get laughs, and you'll say anything to get a laugh. Anything. This is called before finding your voice, right?
Yeah.
You'll just say whatever gets a laugh and get the fuck off, and now that's your new experience.
Yeah.
And then you start expressing your point of view a little bit here, a little bit more, talking about your life more, and you open it up. You go deeper and deeper. What secrets can I tell? What crazy, unique points of view that none of my fucking family agrees with, that I'm going to try and push on to the public and see if they agree with it. You don't agree with it? Let me convince you why Amber Alerts are fucking stupid. You know what I mean? Like, let's take that challenge on. And the more deeper and more specific you get with these things you want to talk about, and is more fucking bent your point of view is, just watch Doug Stanhope. I mean, watch his shit. The motherfucker is bent, all right? And he tries to convince the people that his point of view is actually okay. And the more specific you get and the more challenging it gets, the more specific you get over the years, and that's where I'm going. So to me, it keeps me going. I'm not satisfied just, let me just get a laugh. I know how to get a laugh. I can get a laugh. But can I get you to laugh at why it's fucking fine to try meth? Can I get you to laugh at that? Like, let's try that. That's challenging to me. That's fun to me. And I'm at the point now with these kinds of bits, like I'm kind of exploring these bits, and they're working to a certain degree, but I know there's space for me to go. I'm growing. I can see myself
That's
getting
cool.
better, and I'm never satisfied, and I keep going with it. I wanted to mention something earlier about how important like the stand-up art is, given the kind of environment we're facing, where it's an art that's trying to be censored and controlled, and that's very counterproductive for a culture. I think stand-up comedy is one of the only art forms that can sort of freely, if we allow it, freely and effectively affect culture. Powerful art can transform cultures. It's one of the only pedals that we're allowed to touch as citizens in the culture. We're not allowed to touch the international banking pedal. We're very rarely touched. They make it seem like we're allowed to touch the political pedal, but we're really not. We have the choice of two people, both are rich, and we don't really connect with them. You know what I mean? So the illusion that we can touch the political pedal is there, but it's not true. Art, the only pedal that we're really allowed to touch, and it can be used to transform your world and your environment. We've seen it in history. It is that powerful. And stand-up is a super powerful tool for such things.
Absolutely.
A super powerful tool of unbridled expression. Ideas can flow into the culture through stand-up comics. Marshall McLuhan, who was a very famous media mogul, a media person from Canada, he's passed away, but he has a famous book called The Medium is the Message, and he was very, very supportive, and he saw the value of stand-up comics. This was back in the 60s, when people like George Carlin were coming on the scene. Comedy had an explosion back then, too, where it was a countercultural explosion in the 60s. And comedians like George Carlin were part of that countercultural explosion. They were indicting the culture over things like the Vietnam War, et cetera, et cetera. Drug taking, they were talking about that shit on stage. This is post Lenny Bruce, And Marshall McLuhan saw the value in that. You know, he saw comics as a probe into the culture where they're allowed to, by watching the comics act, you can find out where the boundaries of acceptability are in your culture in terms of points of view and behavior.